There's a lot to do, but we are flexible in how we do these things. And people really are given this space to go above and beyond what they do, which is super inspiring. There's no
Nice.
mandate, but when you're around this energy, you just want to be better. And I think that's probably the most important for a workplace around me, where the people around you, the energy makes you want to succeed, to grow more as an engineer.
Welcome to Peer-to-Peer's Spotlight Series. Spotlight Series is a platform for hiring managers, referrers, and candidates to showcase their talents and opportunities within the startup ecosystem. In our first episode, we're excited to welcome Jeffrey Yoon, who is an engineering referrer from Rippling. Prior to Rippling, he spent time at Scale AI as an operations engineer, at Citadel as a quantitative developer, and also interned at Uber and Google while attending UCLA. Jeffrey shares with us what motivates him to be a referrer on peer-to-peer, his path to Rippling, the work and people culture at Rippling, and tips on how to navigate the hiring process. He also talks about his passion for coaching and how he helps people get to the best versions of themselves. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're interested in getting an intro to Jeffrey, please use the Say Hi button on his profile page. If you're looking to be featured on Spotlight Series, please reach out to us at info@peertopeer.app. All the information is recorded in the description below.
I'm super excited to be on this call to share my journey and why people might want to come join me at Rippling.
That's great. Tell us what is motivating you to become a referrer on peer-to-peer.
Great question. I really love connecting people together and love the idea of helping them find fulfilling roles, especially in the world-class startups that you have on peer-to-peer. On the topic of referrals, many of my full-time positions, most actually, have been through referrals. And in my experience, blind applications have had low ROI, such that all 5 companies I've worked at have been through referrals by people I knew who were able to vouch for me. Now, I'd like to be the connector for people who are interested in Rippling. I'd, of course, do some vetting before referring them to make sure that they're a good fit and ready for the role they're interested in. And then after they pass the recruiter screening and TPS, I'd be happy to jump on a call, maybe even make some personal intros with hiring managers. And should they get an offer, really help them prepare to be in the best position. And when they join Rippling, happy to do some mentoring.
You kind of hit the nail on the head with what we're doing here at peer-to-peer, which is to facilitate connections to your next opportunities with domain experts. The goal of this really is to network with other domain experts to expand your network. You're also referring other people in your network to positions available on peer-to-peer. Can you tell us what is motivating you to do this?
Yeah. So I took a look at peer-to-peer, and those companies, I really like how they're chosen. They're working on cool ideas. They're vetted on building great team cultures as well as great teams, having a great runway. And so they're really no-brainers in terms of being great positions. There's a cool referral bonus, which is, of course, nice. And you have this new recursive referral bonus pool idea that I think is cool, where 20% of this referral bonus goes to people who just share the link in finding that eventual referrer. That's a cool system.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. Let's get back to Rippling. What do you do for Rippling as a software engineer?
So at Rippling, I'm a software engineer on the workflows team as well as the notifications team. Our workflows product is like other workflows products in that it's a if this happens, then that happens kind of system. But what makes it really powerful is how it works at Rippling. So first of all, Rippling as a company is a one-stop shop for all HR, IT, finance needs. We have lots of the components and apps all in one place. And the power of Rippling is that all that data are integrated. They can be accessed throughout the system. It ripples from one app to another. You don't need a bunch of dedicated HR admins going to a bunch of different apps, for example. You can all just do it in Rippling. I remember at previous companies, you'd have like Bamboo HR, you'd have ADP, you'd have this and that. And it's really much easier when everything's just on one platform. And what makes our workflow automator so integral is that, let's say, an employee moves to another state, it would ripple to insurance and payroll and all of our apps so that when you say, okay, if someone starts in 1 week, we can send them all the related onboarding things, documents, and all that. And there's just so many powerful things you can do with workflows. what I do at Workflows is make the product more robust, more reliable, building out the future iteration as well, adding new features, and just really making this great. Now, notifications, our sister team, is responsible for sending all the messages, be it through Slack or email or through a to-do list on the user's dashboard. And I'm working on a product which basically takes that to-do list to the next level. Right now, there's kind of a to-do list of pending tasks. For example, take a new hire out to lunch, set up this thing, approve a payroll run or a PTO request, take a course. And there's just a lot of to-dos. And you can imagine as a company grows and gets more people, the to-do list for admins especially is going to get really long and unwieldy. And the goal of this new product I'm working on is kind of be like a combination of Gmail and Jira, where you could get through the tasks in a super organized way, super streamlined way. You can take bulk actions on them and overall provide just a much better experience. One thing that's super special about Rippling to me is our mission of freeing smart people to work on hard problems. For example, as a company CEO, you don't want to deal with all this admin work, and our platform really makes it as easy as possible for you to do all these things. And I feel like my work with workflows and notifications is really at the center of helping everyone who uses our products not have to do so much of the manual work, so they can focus on their company and doing the things that really matter for their business success. And by the way, workflows and notifications are both part of our hub platform org, which is all the tools that kind of sit at the center and get used by internal teams as well as directly by our customers. So I think that's a really cool dynamic to have.
I love how passionate you are about this. Can you tell us a little bit more about your story before Rippling?
So when I started college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was interested in all these areas and I thought, oh, programming seems pretty cool. I saw programming was used everywhere and I just really loved the collaborative problem solving element of it. I tried out some research because I like thinking deeply about things. I like getting exposed to new ideas, but I wanted an even faster means to make impact, which is what drew me to industry. After talking a few mentors, I tried out a bunch of different experiences, including AI. Then I was working in finance for a bit at Citadel. Then I was doing some ops stuff at scale and just had all these cool experiences. And when one of my friends who just became an engineering manager there, he referred me, I was like, this is cool. I'll give it a look. And I feel like what really drew to me is this idea of helping people even more than building. During the first interview I had at Rippling, I'm like, this product doesn't look really cool. But my manager, or sorry, my interviewer, he was super enthusiastic about it. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty dope. And it was him, he was eventually the hiring manager and my current manager that just really compelled me to join Rippling in the end.
What about the conversation with the hiring manager was memorable to you?
Yeah, so for that first interview, he was not my hiring manager at the time. You don't get interviewed by a hiring manager that first interview. He was my technical phone screen interviewer. And it just so happened that
See.
later on, I found out that he was hiring as well. And through that meeting with him, I switched to interviewing for his team.
I
And
see.
what just, yeah, really intrigued me was how enthusiastic he was about the product. He was really eager to show me what he was working on, the roadmap, all the possibilities of the product. And I remember distinctly during that first interview, he was giving me a live demo towards that end to convince me to interview for his team. And the front end, it kind of broke. And he's like, that's a problem we'll fix in the future. Just taking it in stride. And that experience just felt super intriguing, kind of cute in a way. It was kind of this work in progress vibe that despite all the weird technical bugs, it was still so central. Rippling at the time was already a $10 billion company, and Workflow Automator was listed by, I think, TechNet as the most important component of it. So here is the thing that holds the company together, and it still has these weird crashes. And I was intrigued. I was like, wow, how's it done? And the hiring manager, he himself was an ex-founder. And Rippling has a lot of ex-founders, actually 50 plus. We really value ex-founders. That's one of the really special things about Rippling in its uniqueness as a compound startup, which means that there are many startups that are essentially operating within a single startup.
What is it like to work at a compound startup?
So as a compound startup, because you have all these ex-founders and people taking initiative, people and teams are working at these individual problems, each of which has a veritable fire hose of customer demand thrown at them. Because these problems, they arise because people are like, we really want to see this. We really want to have this. And so we really want to deliver this value to our customers. And during the progress, they're kind of broken at some points, but they're enough to really make people's lives easier. And that feels really great. And I think this is actually a bit of a metaphor to how people operate. And I have some perfectionistic tendencies, and I'm broken some of
Mm.
the time. I get decision paralysis or whatnot. And despite all of that, I can still deliver a lot of value. And we as humans, we are all kind of broken in different ways, but we really care about the people around us. We just have a lot of, we're amazing people in spite of that. Just
Yeah, that's a really good lesson, how human beings can be amazing and flawed at the same time. And it's such a good reminder. Within Rippling, how do you push an idea forward?
Ooh, great question. So, as an individual employee, you can definitely propose something. As a compound startup, there's lots of rooms for initiatives. At the same time, because of the high customer demand, there are a lot of priorities set. And so that means clear directions to pursue, clear ways to frame. I have an idea. How is this going to contribute to what we're doing? We've had several internal
Mm.
hackathons, including one a few months ago, where multiple of the project ideas have already been productionized. That said, there are lots of business priorities already, so you don't necessarily have to propose that many things. Our leadership team is really capable, and there are things also set at the top level. So you can think about each of the top level things of the company as a whole, your product, your team, and your work. There's all these levels to think about, and you could have ideas about each of them. And our company is also really open. One of our values, in fact, is change their minds. So
Mm.
whenever you see something, we're open to making that change.
That's really good to hear. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the people at Rippling. So it sounds like you have great leadership and a noble mission. Can you tell us what it's like to work with your teammates within your team and cross-functionally?
Sure. One thing I really like is that the people at Rippling, they think really deeply. For example, my manager, my skip level manager, all the way up to the leadership team. I really like how thoughtful and committed people are. People
Mm.
take a lot of initiative. People look for ways to step up, make lives better for the people we serve as well as the people we work with. It's very
Mhm.
dynamic. Since it's a startup, there's a lot of intensity to it. People really like to get a lot done. That said, we have a pretty good work-life balance in that our hours are flexible. There's a lot to do, but we are flexible in how we do these things. And people really are given the space to go above and beyond what they do, which is super inspiring. There's no
Nice.
mandate, but when you're around this energy, you just want to be better. And I think that's probably the most important for a workplace around me, where the people around you, the energy makes you want to succeed, to grow more as an engineer.
Growing as an engineer is super important. Where does engineering as a whole sit in Rippling?
So Rippling, unlike many peer companies in the, especially the HR space, it's a very engineering first company. We're roughly 30 to 50% engineering and design. And even our product managers, they have engineering experience. For example, the product manager on my team, he was actually an engineer for 4 years before he joined. And he only became a PM at Rippling.
That's great to hear. What else do you guys look for in teammates for those who are interested in interviewing at Rippling?
Qualities like taking initiative, being self-sufficient, and really seeking to understand the problem and solve the problem and really deliver value to our customers. Those are the things that I really look for the most. For example, some values are like go and see and push the limits of possible. For example, when you see a problem, instead of just making a guess, you dig into the logs, you dig into the code, you go see the evidence and be in the field. And in that sense, you're like a detective, falling in love with understanding the problem and arriving at possible solutions that way. There's a lot of this collaborative brainstorming element to it and really putting ourselves in our customers' shoes and thinking, what are the biggest pain points they face? How could we really make this the best for our customers? How do we get that
Hmm.
customer love? And at Rippling,
Yeah.
we dog food the Rippling product a lot. We use Rippling every day and really being engaged with these problems and being motivated to tackle them, thinking of ways of solving them is just this enthusiasm.
Wow, I feel like I'm being recruited right now. Uh, are you involved in the hiring process at all?
Yes. So one of the most important things is I refer awesome people. I also give interviews for the phone interview stage, which I find really fun because I like getting to meet people and hearing about how they think about problems.
Can you give us more insights on how to navigate the interview process?
Sure. The engineering bar at Rippling is quite high, and many people don't pass the interviews. Most people don't. And to pass it, you really have to be strong in your foundations, like algorithms, data structures, communication, and problem solving really are the biggest things. Being in a
Hmm.
state where you could, given a problem, think through the problem, really understand it, think about the edge cases, have the potential edge cases and test cases in the back of your mind while you're considering solving the problem.
Hmm.
These questions are often really interesting. You might have not seen it before. And so really having that initial curiosity to develop a understanding of what's going on is super important. And a mistake I commonly see is that people get nervous and then they get into implementation super fast without really thinking
Hmm.
through the whole problem. And so then the question becomes more challenging for them because they might make an error relating to time or space complexity. There might be a bug and they catch it later on, and it takes more time to get to a working solution if you catch it later on.
Hmm.
Having hints and checking that your approach makes sense, I think is really important. It's definitely better to have that validation super early on before going back to change it later, which is a important part of the engineering process, right? You want things to be finalized as much as possible in design and not have to go back and change things when you're deep into implementation. And really having this methodical approach where you understand the problem, you go through some of the examples and think through all of these cases and have that buy-in from your interviewer because it's really a
Hmm.
conversation. It simulates a real workplace, right? And
Yeah.
having that kind of dynamic of, okay, this is a real team meeting. We're going to really think through this in a systematic way. That would be my biggest piece of advice, being practice prepared, having that system.
Yeah, that is super insightful. I think I may speak for most when we talk about interviewing and maybe we're nervous and we forget to take time. So it's a good reminder to always take time. It's better to take time than rush to a solution, rush to a conclusion. So that's super insightful. Thank you. Switching gears a bit, you also have a coaching business on the side. Tell us how you got into it.
Priska, I'm so glad you asked. The short answer is I started doing it and then it slowly began to feel like a calling. As a kid, I enjoyed tutoring other kids as a way of making friends. And starting in college, I got super interested in personal development. I started a mastermind
Hmm.
group, got involved with a few different mentorship things, reaching out to other mentors and being mentored myself early on, as well as later on mentoring others who were earlier in their career. And those were, in fact, some of my fondest memories in college. I noticed consistently that I get the greatest sense of fulfillment while engaging in these small mentoring sessions. Since
Hmm.
graduation, I started coaching on careers, initially helping others find internships and new grad jobs, and later helping others get their career to the next level. And as for me, a lot of it came from my own restlessness about my own engineering career. I changed jobs quite a few times, took a few different career breaks, went through a lot of these personal kind of reckonings. And about a year ago, I had a friend who I worked with in the past who was burnt out at his current job. And we were talking about what would he like to do in the future. And I was encouraging him to build this idea of a dream job around that and start looking for those kind of opportunities and coaching him a little bit. And earlier in this year, he found his dream job where he's doing pretty much exactly
Wow.
what he wanted to do at nearly double the pay. The experience really inspired me to consider doing actual coaching. I did some coaching sessions with friends, got some really great feedback, and have started taking on paid clients. And recently, one of my clients got two dream offers after just 2 months of coaching, where I was basically just coaching them on gaining and sustaining their confidence about the process, on planning their day, on setting themselves up for success.
Wow, that sounds like amazing progress, and I'm so happy that you're able to turn your passion into business. When it comes to helping your clients find new jobs, how hands-on are you in terms of job hunting?
Now, there are a lot of services out there already that are more point solutions. They do mock interviews or negotiation or automatically apply for jobs for you just to get you interviews. So where I'm at is more of the high level strategizing. Like, what actions could you take to make the most impact? Where do you want to get
Mm,
to in 10 years? And what I really want to start with is getting to your career should serve your growth as a person, right? You're not reliant on your career. And
hmm
your vision of your ideal self, like what kind of person do you want to be in 10 years? What kind of experiences do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to live? I feel like that should be the guiding light. And funnily enough, many of my career clients right now are mid-career. They've already been working for a few years, and the majority of them are actually more senior than me. I graduated 4 years ago. Some of them graduated 6 years ago, 8 years ago. So they've gone through the job finding process before. They have some experience with those tactical aspects, those point aspects I mentioned before. And a really big thing I'm helping with is helping them have the clarity and the confidence and the strategizing in making sure they're making the most use of their time. Every hour of their time invested gets them closer to what they want to achieve, doing the things that are most effective, keeping in mind who they want to become in the future. And I find that it's most fulfilling long term. So I tease out what would be
Nice.
fulfilling for them in the next job, the outcome where they land a
hmm
fulfilling role that's right for them. My tagline is I help mid-career software engineers find fulfilling roles or land fulfilling roles and really
Nice.
want them to be able to make the best choice for them in the long term for their own personal growth so that at the new job they're not like, oh, I want to do something else, right? I'm becoming better
Right.
as a person and this is my best opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Have you been doing anything to get word out on your coaching business? Any content related work?
Not really yet. It's just been through word of mouth. I started a little LinkedIn page where I post a little bit, but otherwise it's very low key right now. I think I'll be doing more of it later. And fun fact, in January, I started a little podcast. This was way before I considered coaching, where I'd just go up to random people in the street and ask them about what inspires them. And I find just in these kind of serendipitous conversations is how I get clients right now. Many of my clients, I'm
Mm,
like, I catch up with them and then I find that they're looking for a job. And I'm like, oh, I've been starting a coaching business and I have looking for coaching clients. Would you be interested in giving it a try? And really having this serendipitous quality and being able to play around is kind of my style, both in coaching as well as finding clients right now.
what a way to hustle. Um,
Thank you.
how do you see your role as a coach?
As a coach, the chief idea is someone wants to get across a finish line and you get them across the finish line faster. For example, a running coach gets someone from an 8 minute mile to a 7 minute mile faster than they would be doing by themselves because they essentially put blinders on. They help them focus on what's really important.
Mm,
Otherwise, you could get distracted, you could be procrastinating. And at least in my case, I often have this kind of self doubt like, am I doing the right thing? Is the goal I'm shooting for really worth it? And as a coach,
mm,
I basically help keep the eyes on the prize and
yeah.
adding in any pivots necessary to really find out, okay, what's going to be fulfilling for you long term. And I've definitely gone through the struggle in the past of finding a role that's fulfilling for me because
hmm
job hunting, right? We put in all this effort, interviewing, talking to different people, but how do we know that doing this job will really fulfill where we want to go, both in our career and growing as a person, personal growth? And
Right.
I think that's a key challenge.
Yeah. I mean, that is the million dollar question is how do you get people closer to doing what's fulfilling to them?
Think it really starts with being connected with their vision of their ideal self, what kind of skills they want to become in 10 years, who they want to become. And
hmm
so in practice, we talk about with my clients new perspectives, ways to build confidence, strategy, motivation, clarity. And I just really like then drive the conversation of what's blocking them the most right now and give my feedback. One of the questions that come up a lot is how to stay motivated during interview prep. And I try linking it to we're setting yourself up for the best opportunity in order to fundamentally grow as a person, right? Really tying all
mm
the activities we're doing back to that personal growth to give that sense of certainty that the thing I'm doing right now is helping me grow as a person. And that's what's most important.
Yes, personal growth is super important, and that's something that everyone is striving for, whether in their careers or in their personal lives.
I've had a lot of existential angst over this myself. just like ever since I was as a kid and even as an adult. And I recently read this book called The Pathless Path by Paul Millard, and it really captures this idea of how to find work that's meaningful for you, the purpose of life, finding the work that really matters, finding the real work, your life's work. And there's this Japanese concept of ikigai, the idea of what is the meaning of your life? What is that intrinsically motivating thing that connects you not only at a pragmatic level, but at a spiritual level, connecting with who you want to become down the road, who your role models are, who you're inspiring to be. Becoming aspirational, I think that's a really big thing. There's this quote I like: first you become motivational, then you become inspirational, then you become aspirational. This is really,
That
yeah,
is
this
deep.
idea of kind of having in your head the vision of who you want to become and getting there. And how do you do that? And I think it's captured
Yeah.
well in another one of my favorite quotes: the arrow doesn't seek the target draws the arrow.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you, Jeffrey, for ending this spotlight series on such a deep note, a profound thinking around what we should do with our lives, and sharing your insights about the hiring processes of Rippling. Um, Jeffrey is a referrer for all engineering positions at Rippling. So if you're interested to learn more about Rippling, or if you have coaching requests, you can reach out to Jeffrey using the link in the show notes. Select the option Ask for Intro to connect with him, and we'll make sure to forward all your requests to Jeffrey.
Wow, awesome. Thanks so much for having me on, Priska. Yes, amazing viewers. Don't hesitate to reach out and say hi.